It's Aaron Shores. Welcome to my YouTube channel. Today is Wednesday, April 29th at 4 p.m. EST. Thank you for joining me. Just going to adjust my microphone. Okay. How's everyone doing? I'm going live today. Unfortunately, I was supposed to have an awesome interview today. Right now, I was supposed to be online with the one and only CF Martin IV. Unfortunately, he had to reschedule, but we're going to work on that. Hopefully next week, we'll be rescheduling. I'm going to make an announcement on social media when we do. So please do me a favor and subscribe to join my Instagram and Facebook pages. Everything is Aaron Short Music, AARONSHORT Music. And if you follow me on social media, I'll make sure I announce that as soon as we reschedule. But since we had to postpone, I've decided to go live anyway, just in case some people showed up. Although I did tell people that it was rescheduled already, but just wanted to go live in case anyone showed up expecting to see us talking today. So I thought, and I like to go live at 4 o'clock anyway. So I thought today I would talk about a different subject and just hang out, have a cup of coffee, discuss these acoustic IRs that I've been looking at this week. I've got some brand new ones I want to share with you as well. Some demos from Brian at Worship Tutorials, just to show off and see what they sound like, see what you guys think of them. So we'll do that today. So I'm going to invite a few friends in here and just have a very casual hangout. So thanks for joining me. Please let me know if you're watching and let me know where you're watching from while I go to Facebook and share this feed. And please, if you wouldn't mind, please do the same. Come hang. So acoustic impulse responses, what are they? I tell you what, I'll start off by saying what they are, and then I will demonstrate what I have here. Should be a fairly quick session, but it should be interesting. Okay. Oh, I got the whole pack. Very nice. I'll tell you about these in a second. So last night I was watching a stream for worship music, and they were talking a lot about acoustic guitars and acoustic impulse responses. And I feel like a lot of people don't even know what these things are. So I'll just go over that and I'll explain why they're good. It's been interesting to me though, because the guests I've had on so far. Hey, how you doing? Good to see you, my friend. How are you getting on with your pickup? Please do share. Are you still loving the Yamaha system? Are you loving the system you've been trying this week? And have you ever tried impulse responses with a passive pickup system? That's a good topic. And I'm interested because the more interviews I do, the more I learn about amplification. And I learn about what people are using. I feel like a lot of people are not using acoustic impulse responses on their guitars live. And I can talk about my experience with them and what I like and dislike. But I think a lot of people just don't know what they are yet. I mean, do you guys know? I'll ask you guys in the chat. Hi, everyone. Once again, I know there's a few people here now. So if you came here for the interview with Chris, we had to postpone. I'll be announcing on my social media when we're going to reschedule, hopefully next week, but I haven't got a date yet. So follow me on Instagram and Facebook, Aaron Short Music, and watch out for the update. Sorry about that. These things happen. But I'm going to talk about something else today anyway. So if you play acoustic guitar and you've ever used impulse responses, please let me know in the chat if you've used them and what you think of them and what your experience has been. Because I've been covering a lot of Helix things lately and I want to try something out today. I want to try some impulse responses with the guitar. I'm going to use the Martin, of course. It smells so good. It's the D18 Modern Deluxe from Maury's Music. Remember to check out Maury's Music. Hi, Maury, if you're watching. How you doing, my friend? So what I'm going to do is, this is a great guitar to use for this because it has a very good impulse response in the guitar. And also it has just a passive pickup. So we can compare the inbuilt impulse response with the pedal. I've got two brands of third-party acoustic responses. We'll try them, and then I'll explain to you other ways you can do this as well. But yeah, if you're doing this already, please let me know in the chat. It'd be good to know. Hey, Jim. How you doing, Jim? I'll put you guys up on the screen. I'm interested to know. I think one problem is, or one thing about this is that people don't know. Patsy Smith, you need a profile picture. People don't know what impulse responses are. And I'm probably not the best person to tell you. It's very involved. It's very scientific. They've been used by fishermen with the Aura system. Bags have the Soundscape coming out very soon. We have the Tone Dexter, which has been doing very well because it allows you to make impulse responses of your own guitar. Basically, I don't want to go into too much detail about what this is. The impulse response is a very small file that you can load into a Convolver, which is a playback device, and it's not digital. It's the way I like to explain it is that the impulse response is a very advanced EQ. So imagine with an EQ, you might have 3 bands, treble, middle, and bass, and you can adjust the tone of your guitar. Imagine an EQ with 1,000 different bands of EQ, and you can change every little one. And also, it can move with time as well. It's not just static. So like a 3-dimensional EQ. That's how I'll explain it. Essentially, what it does is it makes the guitar sound more like a microphone. It makes it closer to that, so it matches the sound of a microphone. It's very cool. Hey, Tone Wars, how you doing? Looking forward to your interview this evening, my friend. We had to postpone to next week, but these things happen, as you know, in live TV. And impulse responses. So that's what it is. The great thing with the Helix is you can load impulse responses into it, okay? And you can play them back. Now, how good are they? Well, we're going to find out today because I'm going to demo, like I said, a Fishman studio recorded impulse response, which was made in this guitar. So this is like state-of-the-art, custom-made IR. We're going to compare it to the 3 Sigma IR, which are very, very well regarded and used by a lot of people, and also the new Worship Tutorials IRs they've been creating. Brian says he's very happy with them. I thought, why not try them out on the show? So Cole Clark use. Okay, so Cole Clark is a fantastic analog pickup. It's got 3 pickups in the guitar, basically. So lately I'm trying to use 3 Sigma. Interesting, because you have an amazing guitar already with a great system, and yet you want to try using IRs. So may I ask you why you're doing that? I'm not saying you shouldn't, and that's actually part of my conversation here today. But you're using 3 Sigma IRs. Now, are you using them with the pickup, with the microphone in the pickup? Are you just using the undersaddle in the guitar and applying them to that? Or are you trying to use them instead of the pickup you have already? Here's the scenario I can think of for using these impulse responses. Maybe you have a guitar with a very basic undersaddle pickup that doesn't sound very good. These can really make it sound a lot better. Now, do they sound better on stage? Well, that's debatable because that can cause problems on stage. For recording, yes. For the recording at home and playing direct and in-ears, it can sound absolutely incredible. And I highly recommend you check them out. Live, you can come up against problems. It can sound too distant, too wet, for want of a better expression. So they're not always ideal. If you have a system like the Cole Clark, which is a great system, then you could use that system on stage and the impulse responses at home. So you can, there's 2 different uses really. There's live and there's recording, and then some people will use them for everything, live and recording. But don't think that you can't just use them for one purpose, because you can. Okay, so your guitar only has 2 pickups. So does your guitar have a microphone in it? The reason I ask is you wouldn't normally use a microphone in the guitar, in the pickup, and then an impulse response as well. You wouldn't normally use both of them. You can try it, but it's a bit like using 2 mics. You might come up against phase issues. Okay, so let's go to the demo without further ado. I want to, the proof here is in the pudding, as they say. So let me show you my screen here. Make sure you can see it. Okay. All right, so what I have here is an impulse response. It's turned off. I have some reverb, and that's it, okay, on this path here. So what I'm going to do is turn off the impulse response on the guitar, and I'm going to play you the guitar. I'll turn the microphone off. This is what most undersaddle, I don't want to say basic, but this is an active undersaddle pickup, and this is what most guitar pickups sound like when people play their guitars, right? Sounds like this. I like to ask at this point, what did you think of the sound of that? Could you hear the, I hate to say it again, the quacky sound? Could you hear that plasticky pickup sound that you get from undersaddle pickups? I'm sure you could. And the thing about that is once you hear it, it's very hard to unhear it. Mine only has the piezo and the brace sensor. It's the old one. Okay, it's the older Cole Clark pickup. Try and have a more mic, like I say. So the new Cole Clarks have a mic, a faceplate, like a soundboard transducer, and an undersaddle pickup, which is cool. You've got 3 pickups in your guitar. This guitar that I just played you has 1 pickup in the guitar. That's why it's cool to have more than 1 pickup. The reason why you might not is because the Cole Clark is installed in the factory, and something like the Martin, you put your own pickup in it. I don't really want to put 3 pickups in a nice Martin guitar. I want to keep it acoustic. So that's why a lot of people just install a soundboard transducer like the K&K, or an undersaddle pickup like the Fishman Matrix. That's why they do that. But those pickups alone, okay, the K&K can sound good strummed, but it's very feedback prone, or can be feedback prone. The undersaddle pickups sound like you just heard, a bit kind of bright and quacky. They're very immediate. They cut through a mix. They're great in that respect, but they can sound plasticky. So that's why the impulse response can give us that microphone-like sound without using a microphone in the guitar. So less stuff in the guitar, a nice natural sound out the front or recorded. So what I'll do now is I'll just play that again, just to remind you what it sounds like. And then I'm going to turn on the impulse response here. I'm going to pick one. So I purchased these myself. These are the 3 Sigma acoustic IRs. People rave about these IRs. They're created from a Martin D45, which is a top-of-the-range Martin guitar. Now, is that going to work well with this guitar? I don't know yet. I'll cover that in a second. It's not necessarily going to sound good, but we're going to find out. So again, let me play the guitar not acoustically. Let me play the guitar, just the pickup by itself, and then I'm going to turn on the impulse response from 3 Sigma audio, and I want to see what you think. Please put your comments in the comments box. I want to hear what you think of the difference. So here we go. Here's the pickup by itself, first of all. Then you'll see me turn on the impulse response, and you'll hear it as well. You'll hear it. So what did you think? There was no vocal mic there. That was just the direct sound of the guitar. And while you give me your comments, I'm going to have a cup of coffee. Please join me with a nice beverage. But yeah, which one did you prefer and why? I do like these interactive demos. They're really fun. Maybe you preferred the first one. That'd be interesting. I mean, just be honest. What kind of words comes to your mind when you hear those 2 sounds? And this is just the first example. This is 3 Sigma Audio, and they have a bunch of different ones. They have, there's like 15 here, just of this one, and then there's other guitars and other sample rates, other mic positions as well, I believe. But yeah, this is a good place to start off. Just turn it down slightly. It's quite loud. I want to dig in. The thing is, when you play soft, you don't really hear this issue as much as when you play hard. When you really dig in is when you kind of hear the guitar break up. If you play very softly with fingers and no pick, sometimes you don't hear it as much. Let me just try that. Check this out. You see, when you play very softly, it doesn't break up as much. It's really when you dig in with a heavy pick, you can start to compress the pickup. Because if you think about it, the pickup is under the saddle and is being overdriven. When you really drive the guitar, that thing is being compressed. It's under a lot of compression already from the weight and the tension of the strings, and then you're basically like driving it with your pick. So that's why you get that sound they call quack. Now, this is interesting. Patsy Smith says she prefers the first one. It seems clearer. Well, there you go. This is a valid point. The first one was the raw pickup, just no EQ, just the pickup. And I can hear those artifacts, the quack. I'll call it quack. And the second one was the impulse response, which sounded very wet to me. Now, here's the thing. You're absolutely right. It makes a big difference, but not necessarily is it a good thing. And this is because that wet sound can make it muddy and distant and not as immediate. And this is why some people, in fact, prefer the sound of the raw pickup. Now, one thing we can do is we can change the mix. And one great thing about the Helix products is you can go into the mix and turn it down to, say, 50%. The Fishman Aura system always advises you, at least the original Aura system, always advises to go down to about 35%. So let's just try 50% and see what that sounds like. And I'll compare that to 50 and 100%. I'll play both versions. If you watch the screen, you can see when I change it. So what do you think of that? I went from 50 to 100 down to 25. Did anyone like that? Okay, here's where I stand. I'll just tell you where I stand with this stuff. It does sound more like a microphone when you have this impulse response turned on. It also sounds way too bright, so I'd have to change the EQ. And it sounds too distant. It may work for recording because that doesn't really matter. You might want the sound to be distant, but when you're on a stage, you don't want to sound distant. You want to sound punchy and in your face. It's a reason why it's good to use like an amplifier and just, it really gives you that kick. And that's what an undersaddle pickup does. It gives you a kick. So that's where I'm coming from. That's where I'm coming from with this. Now, hang on though. This isn't the conclusion. The thing is, it depends on the impulse response. And one thing to remember is impulse responses for acoustic guitars generally are better. This isn't always the case, as you'll see in a bit, but they're often made for a guitar in particular. So they're made for that guitar. That means that the person will listen, or the mic will listen to the guitar, and they'll recreate that particular sound. Like the sound we're hearing now is very bright, right? So really you want to create the impulse response from the guitar you're actually going to play on. And not just that model, but the actual guitar itself. And also you want to use the same pickup that you're playing through. So if you create an impulse response of a Gibson with an undersaddle pickup and you try and play it on a small body Martin with a soundboard pickup, it may not work. It may sound weird. And it's one reason why people used to say the Aura stuff could sound strange, because they made them with the Matrix undersaddle pickup. And so that's what you're supposed to use it with. Again, not to say you can't get good results from other things, but you're gonna have to really search around and be careful what you do. You don't just turn it on, select a D45 and your guitar sounds like a D45. That's not how it works. So these impulse responses, they work, but I find them just a bit over the top. And even the blend control for me doesn't do what I want it to do. It doesn't narrow it down and make it punchier. It just kind of makes it less something. I don't know. It just doesn't give me the result that I want. Now, having said that, these new impulse responses, I just got these today from Brian from Worship Tutorials. This is just a few he gave me to try out, like literally just now. I don't even know what SB blend means yet, but Dread 35. Okay, so this is a piezo undersaddle pickup, like I have in the guitar. I think he uses the Anthem pickup, so that'll be an element pickup. Shouldn't matter too well. It does. I don't know. I don't want to say it matters. I want to play it and see what it sounds like. So this is a D35 with an undersaddle pickup. So it's pretty close to the guitar that I'm playing. The guitar I'm playing is a D18 with an undersaddle pickup by another brand. So it's the same kind of body shape, the same style of pickup, but different woods and different materials in the pickup. So let me load that impulse. Let's see what we think of that between us. I just have to choose it here on my list. Where's it gone? There we go. If I read the instructions, I'd know what the other things mean, but I'll just do this first one here. So I'll put the blend back to 100%. I'll do the same thing. I'll play it without the impulse response, and I'll play it with the impulse response. Here we go. I'm interested to know what you thought of that. What you thought of that. I want to hear from you guys before I give my comments. David says it's like going from all under saddle on the Anthem to adding in some mic. Yeah, actually, but when I use the Anthem, I do add in a lot of microphone. There is certainly a sweet spot, but I like the mic in the Anthem because again, it uses that crossover where the mic just does the high end and the pickup does the low end. When I use the Aura, I don't add in much image at all. Right, and you can't. And I think for that reason, when they made the Aura, they used the Fishman matrix. They used certain guitars to make images. The intention was for you to use the same model with the image. And even then, you had to try different ones out to find the one that sounded the best. And even then, you couldn't use 100% blend. Not always. So maybe if you shipped them your guitar and they used your guitar, you could, but even then it would sound too wet, too distant. So they always advised, I think, 30%. And that's just enough to take away the harshness, but not lose the definition. And I do think the Aura system's great. The Aura system with the actual guitar, like when they made the Retro series, where they actually used the guitars. Well, actually they didn't. They contradicted themselves. They used vintage guitars from the factory, which were different woods to the guitars they were putting the images into, but they still had the matrix pickup. So half of the equation was there. And I thought they sounded good. But again, you only use 30%. So it wasn't enough to really cause a problem. I want to be in a situation where I can use 100% for recording and have it sound good and natural. And I want to go on stage and use, say, 50% and have a very attacking sound, but still with a nice tone. You have to try the Nuex Optima Air. It's basically an IR pedal that comes with tons of acoustic and cab IRs, but you can make your own acoustic guitar, make your own thing with your guitar. Yeah, I'm just going to move this out of the way so it's not on my face. Yes, I just read about that on the Acoustic Guitar Forum, and I did reach out to Nuex to see when they're shipping. I would like to try that one. And they said because of the current situation, it's not shipping yet. So that seems interesting. If you have a mic and a mixer, you do need your own microphone and preamp, like a mixer, to plug into it. You can make your own impulse responses. Sounds interesting. Will it be as good as, say, Tone Dexter? I don't know. I haven't tried it, so I don't know. But yeah, I would like to try that one. And I'm looking forward to trying the Bags one as well, the Soundscape, for sure. But I'm really interested in trying these Helix ones because I think it'd be cool to have like a pod or a Helix and load in the impulse response and do other stuff as well, to have everything in one. And that's why I'm interested in these impulse responses today. David said they used to offer a service where you could send them your guitar and they would use. Exactly, that's what I was just saying, yeah. They made images of James Taylor's guitars. He used the Aura system a few years ago, yep. So you would ship them your guitar and they would make the images custom. I think they charged a fee as well, right? I didn't care for either on the 18. Oh, interesting. Is that the Anthem undersell? No, so I'm using the Fishman Matrix pickup, but I believe these impulse responses I just showed you were made with the Element, the Bags Element pickup. I'll tell you what I think in a second. Just read this comment. Numex Optima Air gives you the opportunity to make your own acoustic. Oh, yeah, exactly. Yeah. The only thing is, remember, you do need to have a mixing desk to plug in and a microphone to plug in. And we don't know yet what they're going to sound like. That's the thing with these impulse responses. There's a lot of, you have to have the right microphone, position it the right way, try it different ways. And then, of course, you still might want to EQ the thing as well. Just because you make it a good impulse response, it's like giving someone a microphone and saying, record a song with this and we'll release it. You'd be like, no, I'm going to EQ it first, right? I'm going to add effects and EQ it. But I would definitely like to try it. Fishman doesn't offer that service anymore. Yeah, that's right. Yeah, I mean, it must have been a huge hassle to have customers sending you their guitar and then having to like carefully handle it and record the things and then ship it back again. That must have been that's a big hassle, isn't it? The way of making it yourself is desirable, but you need to own microphones. You need to try different positions, different microphones, get the right thing. That's why Bags is letting you use the cell phone to do it. We'll have to see how that works. Now, with the one I just played, I actually thought it was really good. In my headphones, I thought it was really good because it wasn't as wet and as much. It wasn't as overpowering as the 3 Sigma. So I actually really liked it. I'd have to use it live to know how well it worked live. But in the in-ears, I liked it because for some reason, sometimes the mix control on these things doesn't work how I think it will. It doesn't just like make it less roomy. It kind of does other stuff to the sound as well. And I don't really like that. So I thought that sounded good. I'm going to play it again. And then I'm going to play you the Aura HD in this guitar. This should sound really good because it's made with this model of guitar with this pickup in mind. And also remember, the one I just showed you is one of a whole set of about 80 different IRs. And if you buy the set from Worship Tutorials, what you need to do with these things, the ones you buy like this, you need to go through each and every one to find the one that works the best for your guitar. It's a bit like when you make your own. You've got to try lots of different mic positions to find the one that works the best for what you're doing. So it's not like you can just move the mic around on the screen in like a digital, like a computer. You can't do that. You need to actually physically try them all out and find the best one. Play it again. Yeah, I will. Let's do the Worship Tutorials one again. Check this out. Let me do that again. I got confused. Was that on or off? I didn't even see. I'm going to do it again. Hang on. Sorry. Okay, we'll start with it off. You see what I mean? It's more natural, but it's not wet and distant like the other one was, like the 3 Sigma one was. So I quite like that. Let me know what you think. I think Brian did a good job with these. I'm not. This isn't a commercial. I just heard about them and wanted to try them out. I was skeptical at first because, like I said, everyone tells me the best way to make an impulse response is to use your guitar with your pickup. And I think that probably is the best way to do it. But what if you don't have that ability to do that? Well, this could be a nice option to use these in the meantime, especially if you have an Anthem pickup and that's what he used, then you're halfway there. Yeah, right, David, I was surprised when you said that before. I thought it sounded very good too. Now, it doesn't sound completely natural, but the plus of that is it doesn't sound, it doesn't sound completely like a microphone, and there's still a bit of that quack there. But the plus side of that is it's probably going to cut well in a live situation, and that's what I want. I almost want 2 IRs, one for live, one for recording. Because like I said, this mix thing doesn't always work how I expect it to for some reason. So these are the Worship Tutorials D35, and that was the piezo, M251 piezo. Let me bring up the notes that he gave me with these. Oh, Someone's at the door. Can you see this on your screen? I'll show it to you. We can read it together. Let me see. Oh no, you can't see it. Let me bring it up. I want to share this with you. 1 second. This will be preview. Okay. Let's read this here. Can you see that? Yeah. Right. Important notes. Always read instructions. Intended for use with acoustic guitars. These are intended to use with acoustic guitars. They are not meant to make electric guitar sound like an acoustic guitar. That's one big misconception people had with the Aura system. Oh, it doesn't make my violin sound like a Gibson Les Paul. No, that's not the whole point. The point, I mean, some companies have tried to do that actually, like Zoom and Mama Bear, but they're really meant to enhance the sound of the guitar, make it sound more like a microphone. 2, cross-platform. These can be used in any hardware application, like Line 6 Stomp, HXFX, Helix, Kemper, Axe-FX. 3, experiment. We've included multiple options in this IR pack. The best idea is to start experimenting with your guitar and find the right IR or combinations of IR to sound the best. Our recommendation is to first find the pickup type that fits your guitar best. Interesting. So he has used multiple pickup types. Very cool. Let's check this out. These IRs were created using the Martin D35 from 2003. So that must be a nice sounding guitar. And he's also done another guitar, the Sable carbon fiber guitar. So there's two guitars done so far. I think he's going to be doing more. He just got a Gibson that sounds really cool. To create this pack, we've used a variety of microphones using a Slate ML1. Oh, I have that. I have one of those. It's a microphone that emulates other microphones, or can be used flat, so it's completely flat sounding, which is also cool. The sample pack includes these samples. So this isn't available anymore. This is just something for me to try out and show off to you guys. You have to buy it now. But again, I like it. I like this. The one I've played, I think sounds really good. In the file names, you'll see the microphone codes. Okay, so the one that I just played you was a... What was it? Hang on, I've lost the screen now. M251 microphone. I'm not a complete expert on mics, so what's that? Oh, it's the Telefunken M251 emulated. So it's not a real M251, it's an emulation of it, but that's fine. And as he said last night, an emulation of an emulation. Each of these mics will give you a different flavor. Some are extremely accurate, others are clear and bright. Okay, always read these instructions, it's very important. Now, this is interesting. There are many different acoustic pickup options out there, and we've given you multiple options to accommodate a wide range of guitars. This is what you get. 1, piezo. If your guitar is equipped with underseller pickup, try these first. Okay. SB1 is a soundboard pickup, right? Like the K&K. Okay, good. So this covers both types of pickups. Cool. SB2 is for the Anthem pickup in the McPherson, and SB Blend is a blend of the two. Okay, so many options here, and they encourage you to try all the options because just because something is supposed to work, it may work, it may not. The thing that's not supposed to work may work better. Is what I'm trying to say. So that was interesting. So yeah, I like it because I've only tried one, and I'm only basing my opinion on one, so I really should try the rest of them. But the one I've tried, I think sounds more natural, but not too wet. So again, I think for live, these would be very cool. And again, I'd have to try them live, but that's my first impression. I want to try the soundboard one just to see what it sounds like. Let me just switch between the two. Yeah, I found the soundboard one a bit more distant, not as direct. I didn't like that as much, personally. Hey Steve, what's going on, my friend? Did you ever install that Anthem pickup in your guitar? Do tell. I lost my HX edit. Yeah, well, so you might not have seen what I just did, but I just played the piezo, then the sample one, and the piezo one. The sample one sounded a bit too hollow for me. Didn't work well on this guitar, I thought. Well, Steve, if you were here earlier, you'd have got my full explanation. So now you have to come back later on and watch the video again because you missed my explanation, my friend. That's not, you know, you have to watch the rerun. Carlos says, are these IRs useful for Fender Acoustasonic instruments, or they do not need any specific IR? That's a whole new conversation, which I will bring up in a second. Let me finish if you're going to stick around, Carlos, let me finish this part of the talk, and then let's talk about the Acoustasonic, because that's another whole new ball game. Hi, my friend. How you doing, Chad? I love the graphics you've been doing in Ecamm Live. I'm going to try and copy you. It looks awesome. Looks very cool. Chad, have you heard these impulse responses? They're very good. So where was I? I was saying I like this. One more thing though, just to finish. I want to play the one that's in the guitar, that's made by Fishman experts in their factory with the latest technology, using the actual model of the guitar with the actual pickup in the guitar. Let's see if you guys prefer or like this one as much as the worship tutorials. Now, I would guess that you wouldn't, because the worship tutorials one is a generic one, whereas the Fishman one is basically tailor-made for this guitar. But just as a fun experiment, let's do it anyway. So I'm going to play you the Fishman image on maximum, and then I'm going to turn it off and play you the worship tutorials impulse response. Here we go. So the Fishman one in the guitar sounded very wet. That was 100%. Actually, I probably wouldn't do that. I'd probably leave it on 50%. But I still like the worship tutorials one. Again, it's not too much. It's not making it sound too distant. So I'm just going to try this again with the guitar on 50% and then switch to the worship tutorials. Well, what do you think? I have to say, I think the built-in impulse response or HD does sound great, and it's nice to have that blend. The blend works very well, and it sounds full and pretty natural. But I have to say, the worship tutorials one is very good, considering it wasn't made with this guitar, and considering for the money you pay, you can then use it on your guitar. You don't have to go out and buy this particular guitar. So I think it's a great option. I really do. And the 3 Sigma ones are very good too, but they're kind of very wet. So maybe you might want to use them for recording and then use the worship tutorials for live. I don't know. But on the other hand, slow down, because I haven't tried all the different ones that worship tutorials offer. They may have ones that do sound more wet, but that's not what I'm looking for right now. I'm looking for something I can use on stage. And like I said about my problem in the beginning of the video, sometimes I lose definition with impulse responses. And that's why I'm impressed with that one I just tried. So yeah, I think that was an interesting experiment. Let me know what you think in the comments. And then I want to come back to the comments and read them out. In the bags, you have to have a phone to do that. Right, so the bag soundscape is a great idea because you use your cell phone to make the image, well, I don't know what they're calling it, but the audio file, the impulse response, you use your cell phone. So it eliminates the need of having a microphone and a preamp because you use the cell phone. And also it has an app to let you dial in the amount of feedback, the amount of impulse response, and the EQ. So that is going to be very interesting. I'm really excited to try that one. It's very interesting. And now I'll come back to Carlos's question. Are these IRs useful for Fender's Acoustasonic instruments? Okay, so I'll tell you everything I know about the Acoustasonic, everything that I've found out about it. The Acoustasonic Fender uses not aura, but it uses something called image casting. So again, the way, I don't know if I even can explain it really. So I'll give you a way to think about it. Think about an undersaddle matrix pickup sound, just that dry basic sound, which some people like and some people can't stand it. Then think about that fully wet, really over the top process sound, which is like full impulse response, sounds like a microphone. Now think about something in the middle. So it's not really, it's right down the middle. And I don't mean a blend, I mean just like a nice sounding pickup that still sounds like a pickup. Right? So it's right in this, between those two things. For me, that's how I explain the Acoustasonic and image casting. Although sometimes I can get the Acoustasonic recorded to sound really good, like really natural, like a microphone, but it's more defined than an impulse response, in my opinion. I also think that's a good thing, because I see the Acoustasonic as something you would use on stage, and I think it's good that they've gone for that kind of tone, because again, it's not going to get muddy, not going to get lost, and I think a lot of band musicians are using the Acoustasonic, so it's going to cut through. So I do think that's a good approach they've taken. If you think about something like the Variax acoustic, again, very wet sound. You do have a control to change it, but for me, the best solution is that if I had a custom Acoustasonic, my solution would be to have the sound they have now, but also a control where I can turn it up to make it sound even more like a microphone for recording. But I think they want to keep that guitar simple. Now, I do know that you can put impulse responses on top of impulse responses. It's not a bad thing. You just have to be careful. If you can find an impulse response that lines up perfectly with the Acoustasonic's undersaddle pickup, you can put it over the top of what's already in there and make it sound wetter. You can do that, but you have to find one that works, and that's the problem. One thing you probably can't do is train that guitar. Like if you get the Bags or the Tone Dexter, you probably can't train the guitar like you can acoustic. You can't make your own impulse response. So this is interesting. David says, I do not like the acoustic sounds of my Variax. It's such an interesting topic. I mean, I think that here's the problem with those Variax and the Acoustasonic guitar, if you want to call it a problem, but not problem's the wrong word. But think about it this way: with an acoustic guitar, you have the acoustic guitar body and the acoustic guitar strings. With the Variax electric guitar and the Fender Acoustasonic, well, actually no, the Acoustasonic has acoustic strings, right? But it has electric sounds. The Variax has electric strings and has acoustic sounds. It doesn't add up. You really want, and that's why I'm upset that they stopped making the acoustic Variax. You really want acoustic strings on an acoustic guitar body with the impulse response image casted to get a really believable sound. Having said that, I do think I really like, don't get me wrong, I really like the Fender Acoustasonic. It's great. But my point is, it's got electric strings on it. So it's not going to sound 100% like an acoustic guitar. You know, these hybrid guitars can't be all one or one or the other. They're going to be in between all the time. And that's fine. That's what they are. But I think that's what's going on with that. So I did initially think the Acoustasonic could use some extra IR, but then I've also recorded a few songs on my channel where I think it sounds pretty darn good, especially with EQ and effects. It sounds great. And as a performer, I definitely want less than more. I do not want a sound that's too wet and distant ever. I want a sound that I can use live and cuts through. So that's my opinion. Ernie, my friend, how you doing, brother? I'm doing well, my friend. Just demoing some gadgetry here. Ernie has a fantastic guitar collection. And I don't know if he's into the gadgets and gizmos like I am, but I'm showing them off today, Ernie. So my advice is, if you haven't tried impulse responses before, is to just try them. So if I was you, what I would do is I would get the impulse responses from worship tutorials. If you own a Helix or something similar that can load IRs, I would load them in and try them and to see if it's for you. Also, bear in mind the system that you have in your guitar. If you have a very basic passive pickup that you don't like the sound of at all, then definitely try it. If you have something like a Baggs Anthem with a mic and a pickup in there, and you're very happy with that sound, then you probably don't need these. You can just use that direct or recorded. So that's what I would do. I would try them if you need them. Definitely. And I just want to come back to make sure I answered Carlos's question correctly. A clean, and that's the other thing. I'm still exploring this with my Acoustasonic. Here's another thing to bear in mind. The electric sounds are through the magnetic pickup, but they have cab emulation. So they may not always sound the best through an amp because they've got emulation already. I think it's made to go through an acoustic PA. Indeed, I think the thought behind the Acoustasonic was that you can plug it into anything. So without cab emulation, it wouldn't sound good into a PA. But you could argue that without the cab emulation, it would sound better into an amp. But I think they put on just enough, again, so you can plug it into anything. I think that was the thought behind it. But again, you've got to try it. You need to plug in. And I'll do it next week. I'll use the Acoustasonic. I'll try it through a real amp. I'll try it through a Helix amp. And I'll try the acoustic IR with and without an extra IR. I'll try all those things. Because the only advice I can really give you is to use your gear, your guitar, and optimize it for you. Okay, so and of course, the interesting thing today is that some people like the sound of this guitar with no IR, and some people liked it with IR. So it's all completely subjective. I don't think you can argue that an IR sounds more like a microphone than without it, because it just doesn't. But it doesn't mean you want to use that sound on stage. And these are all different questions you've got to ask yourself. How am I using this in my application? So yeah, I'm definitely going to make more videos on the Acoustasonic. So watch out for those. Please subscribe if you haven't already. I'm gonna investigate that more. I want to find out what it sounds best plugged into. I've done a video where I use it into Logic, and I've used electric sounds with Helix distortion pedals and acoustic sounds. I've done like a name that tune. I want to get 20 songs and then do a stream and play you a song and do a competition. See who can name all the songs, all played by the Fender Acoustasonic. And just to show you the range of sounds that it has. That could be a fun one. I might do that next week. I'm going to record some more songs. I really want to do that. I'm going to do that as a live stream, just to show off what I've managed to get from it. But I also want to experiment some more with the sounds as well. So some of these tools, you have to really figure out the best way to use them, especially with things like that. With acoustic guitars like the Cole Clark, plug it into a good acoustic amp and you're good to go, usually. So there's definitely an element of experimentation needed. Okay, let me just make sure I've got everyone's questions and comments. Again, sorry for postponing the interview with CF Marden. Hopefully I'll have a date for you. Let me check if anyone's messaged me yet. No. Hopefully it should be next week sometime. If you follow me on social media, I will definitely post it when it's going to happen. So please do that. And turn that on. There we go. Yeah, please follow me on social media. I'll let you know when we're doing the interview again. The next interview is Friday. I have Joe Bentevegna from Yamaha Guitar Group. He is the COO of Yamaha Guitars, and we're going to talk with him on Friday. Tomorrow, I'm not sure what I'm doing. I might have a video to make or to broadcast about the Hughes and Kettler amp that I'm reviewing soon. And I do have some jam backing tracks coming. I've been working on some other stuff to share, but it's not ready yet. So just stay tuned, subscribe, ring the bell so you see when I go live or post a video. And I'll definitely see you on Friday at 4 p.m. for Joe's interview. Can't wait for that one. Again, I'll let you know when CF is coming back on. I hope that'll be, or coming on. I hope that'll be very soon. I'm very excited for that one. I'm disappointed we couldn't do it today, but as long as we can reschedule, that's fine. I'm excited to do that. Yeah, keep the questions coming. I've had a few questions from people offline, and that's great because I do need ideas for videos and I can address them. Lots of people asking about live streaming. Lots of people asking about how I use EQ, how to use EQ. That's really important. I almost want to do a whole series on that. Steve said the IR sounded very natural. Yep. But the question is, do you want a natural sound or do you not? I'll leave you with that thought and I'll see you next time. Take care, everyone. Bye-bye.